Hello once again, Pokemon Tabletop friends and players. My name is Lance, as you probably know by now, and today we are going to be going over Ace Trainers and their advanced class options. Now, this is going to be the first of what I hope to be 6 class videos, maybe 8 if I decide to do the PHB 2 classes, but for the purposes of this series, I'm probably just going to stick to the 6 main ones. And I know there's only 5 in the PHB. We'll get to that 6th one whenever I get around to it. But for now, before we get started, just wanted to once again shout out the Discord that is surrounding this community. Pokemon Tabletop Adventures has a Discord that covers everything Pokemon Tabletop related, and the creators, as well as other content creators for this system, are all in there. And a bunch of players are in there as well, always available to talk about what might be good, what might not be good, things like that that will help you figure out how to make your game or play your character, anything like that. So yeah, I do want to give a shout out to that Discord. But with that said, if you want to get into the Discord or download any of the books, there's going to be a link down in the comment section for both of them. So just feel free to grab those links, download the PHB, download the Pokedex, and check out the Discord. With that said, let's get straight into Ace Trainer. Now, Ace Trainer is going to be your quintessential I'm going to hurt you. That sounds really bad. It's going to be your main combat class, alright? A lot of your features in Ace Trainer base class is going to be based around trying to improve damage output for your Pokemon, or raise their stats slightly for a temporary time, things of that sort. I'm not going to go in a deep dive of the features because I have tried making that video before, and oh my god, it was too long. So we're going to do an abridged version of that, where I just talk about at length what the basics are for this class. So first we're going to take a look at the favored stats here. You've got attack and special attack. That's probably pretty obvious. The attack-oriented class is going to want to be favoring those two stats. That makes sense. But with that said, you don't necessarily need both of them to be your two highest stats. You could totally be okay with just doing, oh, I'm going to throw a 6 into my special attack, but this character is not very athletic. They're not going to be very built. So that attacks that. Maybe I'll put a 3 in there instead. So, it's not something you need both stats to be really high in, because most of the features in this class do say either your attack or special attack modifier, whichever one you prefer in that situation. Of course, there are certain stats that say the corresponding one, and you might not get as much return on that second lower stat as you might want to, but that is entirely up to you on how you want to build your characters. Some people I've seen go 6 and 5 into the favored stats. Others I've seen go 6 and 4 and then work their way up into the favored stat for a different class being high enough that they can cross-class into that pretty easily. So it's up to you how you want to do that. If you want to know how to build your character, feel free to check out the character building video that I made 6 months ago now. Crazy. Sorry for the break, by the way. Anyway. Next, we've got advanced class options. We're going to come back to that in a little bit, but just to have the 5 advanced class options in your head for now, we have the Stat Ace, the Strategist, the Tag Battler, the Type Ace, and the Underdog classes. Some of those are pretty obvious as to what they're going to be about, but we'll delve into those in a little bit later, alright? Next, we have the skill talents. Now, when you choose the Ace Trainer as your first class, or I even believe the second class, I'll have to double check that, and Editing Lance will tell you if that's correct or not. But basically, you're going to choose one of these two skills to be talented in. So you could choose acrobatics, athletics, maybe you want to do history or Pokemon handling even. It's all up to what your character wants to be. I'm not going to tell you what's good and what isn't, because it all depends on what kind of game you're going to be going for and what kind of character you're going to be playing. So it's not really my business to share, you know? Now, as with all base classes, at level 3, 7, and 11, 7, 11, nice. Basically, you're going to get a stat increase, which will be a +1 in 2 separate stats each time you hit that stat increase. So you'll have +6, but the most the stat can go up will be +3 by this method, okay? And then you also get an advanced class, which will give you the opportunity to choose an advanced class either in Ace Trainer, or if you're able to multi-class or cross-class, excuse me, then you'll be able to do one of the other base class advanced classes. Are you confused yet? I hope not, because I'm supposed to be explaining this, and if that wasn't clear, then I'm doing a very poor job, you know? But you'll be able to check out the Discord if you need to. That said, a lot of these are going to be, oh, you're buffing your stats, or you're lowering your opponent's stats, or you are going to do just more damage. So if you want to have a character that is going to be hitting really hard with their Pokemon, Advanced Class is definitely the one that 9 out of 10 times you're going to want to take. Honestly, it would probably be 10 out of 10. If you're looking for damage, Ace Trainer is your best option. But they are not the only option in the Ace Trainer class section. So, of course, we're going to take a look over to the next and first advanced class, actually, the Stat Ace. Now, Stat Ace sounds pretty obvious, right? You're going to be really good at one specific stat. Well, hold your horses. It's a little more complicated than that. Excuse me, Jesus. I'm glad I was able to finish that sentence. So first off, you're going to, when you pick up a Stat Ace class, you're going to choose one of Nature or Insight for your newest talent. Entirely up to you on that one. I don't really have a favorite one out of those two. I like Insight, but Nature is really good in PTA especially. So it's up to you. I am going to show you guys real quick just level 1, because this level 1 gives you an idea of how this class is going to work. So, favored stat. When you become Stat Ace, you will select any of the 5 base classes. Any of the 5 base stats. So attack, special defense, or speed. No HP. Don't worry about HP. This is relevant to all Stat Ace features for your favored stat. Unlike other advanced classes, you'll be able to take Stat Ace more than once over time, but you must choose a different favored stat each time. So theoretically, you could pick Stat Ace 3 times and choose, maybe I want to do attack, special attack, and speed. This class changes very much depending on what Stat Ace you are actually taking. So before you decide you're going to pick Stat Ace, I do recommend running through a bunch of the features, choosing out, oh, I value this specific thing, because like over here at level 4 you have affliction resistance, but the resistance is different depending on which stat your favorite stat is. So it's very important for you to think about that as best you can for that. So just keep an eye on that. Read through all of the features that have this little split and see what you want for your team the most, because you're going to need that. You're going to need to know that before you make a very good decision for yourself, because it's always going to be different for you versus the next person. The next advanced class is going to be the Strategist. Now, the Strategist is, I think, really fun, honestly. That said, it's not your typical Ace Trainer advanced class. While most of these are going to particularly be good at maybe one stat, or maybe a super move, or one type, this one is different, because this one is more of a support role, honestly. So before we get into the first feature I want to mention, really the only feature I want to mention, just so you guys get an idea of this, strategists are going to be picking one of investigation or perception, or investigate and perception, excuse me. So pick whichever you want there. But the big thing I want you to come away with is Quickset. Quickset is going to be your quintessential level 2 one, where it's kind of encapsulating everything. While level 1 usually has that, oh, this is going to be the one that you like eventually build up to be a really good feature, I actually think level 2 is is one of your best early features in this advanced class section. Quickset is basically, you get to set any move that has coat, hazard, terrain, wall, or weather in their description, that you're able to use twice in the same turn. So, say you're using a Pokemon that wants to use like Rain Dance and grassy terrain. Maybe you're running a Ludicolo that really wants grassy terrain and rain setup. If you want and have both of those moves, you can do that using Quickset and set them both up at the same time. This allows you to get into the fight faster, while also allowing you to support your team a lot better. So it's a class I use a lot for in my campaign, where I will be trying to make difficult challenges for my players. This is a class that I often go to and go, okay, what do I want this fight to be about? Because if the answer is I want there to be some terrain or weather or something like that, I'll usually have at least one character that has a couple strategist features, and it served me very well. Those fights can get very challenging if you set them up properly. We're going to move on to the next class now, Tag Battler. Now, Tag Battler I thought was going to be very different from what it is, but I really like what it is. And you can probably see why right now if you know what you're looking for. But skill talents for this one are going to be concentration and diplomacy or / persuasion. Persuasion, excuse me. Now, the big feature you're going to want to focus on for this one that kind of encapsulates, oh, that's what this is going to be about. You are able to command a couple Pokemon at a time with this feature. I forget exactly, or with this class, I forget which feature it is that does that. But if you have two Pokemon working together, you can use a sync move. If you're unfamiliar with sync moves, here's a basic synopsis. They come from Pokemon Masters. If you've never heard of Pokemon Masters, I can't help you. Basically a gacha game. If you don't know what a gacha game is, yeah, I really can't help you anymore. But sync moves are, I called them super moves. It's a little bit less powerful than that. They are 3d12 damage moves that will vary in type, and I forget what what the particulars are. I can read through this real quick to find it. But it's going to combine two Pokemon's types and two Pokemon stats, do damage based off of that, as well as 2d12, and it will not miss unless you roll poorly against a Pokemon that has higher than 15 defense or special defense, or higher than 14, 15 or greater. Oh, apologies. It doesn't have type at the start. I believe it does get type later on because there's several. There are several other features that are like, oh yeah, your sync move now does this. So have fun with that. Tag Battler is very interesting because of this dichotomy. I don't know how effective it is. I haven't used it personally, but I would not be surprised if it was only okay. That said, feel free to try it out. Let me know in the comments if it goes well for you. I'm very curious because I would like to try it out at some point, but I'm not like really interested in checking that out, if that makes sense. It's one of those weird things that I've always been curious about, but I'm not necessarily craving to know. Next up, though, we have Type Ace. Now, if you remember Stat Ace being, you can take it multiple times. Type Ace is the exact same way with a twist. Now, as you can imagine, Type Ace is going to specialize in a single type. But unlike with Stat Ace, where you can take it multiple times to get multiple different effects for that stat, Type Ace takes a different take on it. You're able to there's one that allows you to change your Pokemon's type to your Type Ace. There's another that allows you to do more damage, as you can see, improve type attacks. There's also one that will allow you to take less damage, or even just be immune to certain things around that type. You're able to go through resistances with that type. It's a whole lot of use for Pokemon or for trainers that are going to specialize in a type, and I've had a pretty good amount of success with it with some of my characters that I have run through, and I think you can find a lot of great uses for it. I use it with Ice type personally because I like the Ice type even though it sucks. PTA allows Ice type to exist in a way that doesn't destroy it if you're not playing it offensively, which is really nice for the typing. Like I said, you can take this multiple times, and you'll... Oh, I forgot to mention, skill talent is going to be nature or perform for Type Ace. Not really sure why perform, but not my decision, so whatever. But you're going to be able to take it multiple times, just with a different type in mind each time. And because of that, you can get a lot of fun combinations. You can change a Pokemon's typing thrice if you really felt like it. And it leads to a lot of fun creativity on the player's side. So I definitely think there's a lot to be said about Type Ace and its ability, but you can only take it as far as your imagination can go. So feel free to try it out. Finally, though, we have Underdog. And if the picture of Ash on the side here was anything to go by, you probably figured out what this is supposed to be for by this point. We're going to quickly talk about the skill talents. It's going to be Bluff, Deception, or Constitution for you when you take Underdog. Now, Underdog is going to be the quintessential, I want to keep my babies. that sounds a little weird. Basically, with the Eversoul feature, you're going to be able to choose your Pokemon that you've had for at least a week to be Eversoul. Eversoul is basically Everstoning. It's a permanent Everstone. Not permanent. You can take it, like, you can basically say, oh yeah, you're no longer affected by Eversoul. But you don't have to have them holding an Everstone for Eversoul. Eversoul will just happen to that Pokemon once you designate it to the GM. There are 3 categories that it works on: Pokemon that have never evolved and can still evolve, Pokemon that can still evolve even if they have evolved, and Pokemon that cannot evolve but never evolve. Now, this is a big departure from what people imagined this would be, because Everstone doesn't work on those Pokemon for obvious reasons. Neither does Eviolite or anything of that sort. But this is the Eversoul Pokemon are going to be things that your trainer wants to focus on, because there are plenty of great features using Eversoul. Trust me, I have a player who took Underdog first and has made me question reality with that. So it's really tough to create difficulty around it, but you can also be really fun using it against your players. And I'm coming at this from the GM perspective because I usually GM for my group, but for a player side, the player who uses this loves it. They love this so much. They have, I believe, 4 Pokemon right now that they're planning on never evolving, or keeping Eversoul at least. And they are having a blast with the combinations they can pull with that and what they might be able to do with that. And so it's a lot of fun that you can create and have a similar Ash type team where he has a Torkoal, a Grovyle, Swellow, Pikachu. What else did he have in that? Corphish, and I believe it was Glalie for that Hoenn team. Like, half of those Pokemon are Eversoul basically. Until Grovyle evolves into Sceptile later on, but for the league it was a Grovyle, so we're gonna keep it at that. With that all said, that is going to be the end of us going through the Ace Trainer and its advanced classes. Before we end off here, I do want to go over to the cross-classing page and just cover how you can cross-class into this if you didn't start as an Ace Trainer or don't have the Ace Trainer as one of your classes before you take one of these classes. So, to take any of the Ace Trainer advanced classes, you will need 5 attack, 5 special attack, but you will also need a certain amount of Pokemon with varying different features that make sense. So Stat Ace, you have to have 2 Pokemon with the same stat greater than 10. So if you had 2 speed Pokemon, 2 really fast Pokemon with higher than 10 speed, you could take Stat Ace with those 2 stat requirements. With Strategist, you have 2 Pokemon with at least 3 non-attacking moves. Makes a lot of sense. You're going to want to be able to use those non-attacking moves with Quickset or anything of that sort, so it makes a lot of sense for Strategist to have that. Tag Battler, you have to have 2 Pokemon who share an identical move that you have to that you've had them both use on the same target in consecutive rounds. That one's a lot harder to do, because a lot of the times, unless they're moving back to back, there's a chance that Pokemon might have been KO'd before you got to do that. Next, you have Type Ace, which has 3 Pokemon of the same type. You will have to pick that type for your starting features when you pick up Stat Ace. So if you have a lot of Pokemon before you go into to Type Ace, then that's how you're going to be able to circumvent that problem. But because the later you get to choose Type Ace, the later you might end up not being able to actually go all the way with type base, so it's a double-edged sword there. And then Underdog, pretty simple, 2 Pokemon who can still evolve, who've defeated evolved Pokemon in battle. If you haven't done that pretty quickly in the adventure, I'd be a little shocked, because I mean, hey, the difficulty in PTA is what moves you have access to. That's what I've learned, and Underdog will be really easy if you have access to strong moves on weaker Pokemon. So, with that said, that will do it for today with the Ace Trainer and its advanced classes. I hope that all made sense to you. If it didn't, feel free to tag me up on the Discord in the pinned comment below. While you're down there, feel free to grab the link tree there as well, with all the links to what you might need for PTA. And yeah, that's going to do it. Next time we're going to be talking about the breeder and their advanced classes. Until then, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you then.